Just putting the battery back in my mouse here. I had to change it out. Welcome to So You Wanna, show for writers by writers. Waiting on my partners in crime tonight to show up. Hi. All right. Ellen here. Hi, everybody. And let me get Katrina in here.
Hey!
Hi.
Oh, look at all these people joining. Hi, everyone.
Hi, guys.
My dog is like staring at me right
There
now.
you go. Hi.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Me too. This is gonna be great.
I'm not gonna fangirl. But I'm a fangirl. Where's the He wrote it.
Oh my gosh. You know, I actually left. Oh wait, I have it here. I came prepared today.
This is like, some housekeeping stuff here, before we get started. Doesn't matter to the show.
Make sure I'm turned all the way up.
It's gonna come with sprinkles.
That looks so good. Oh my god.
It's strawberry.
It's like eating.
I am beyond jealous. My fiance, he went and bought some donuts, and I was just like, I can't have any donuts right now. He's like, oh, they're for me. Thanks.
What a jerk.
I'm eating
Do
ice
you want me to
cream,
have
so I'm
a
not
stern
as
talk
mean.
with him?
Wait, what'd you say, Elle?
I said I can have a stern talking with him.
With who?
With your fiance about the donuts.
Exactly. Tell him he shouldn't have bought no damn donuts if you knew I couldn't have any damn donuts.
Exactly. I will do it.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm glad you liked it.
Hey, you guys are watching me too. I don't know why, biting off camera is
So this
better.
caramel macchiato drink that I bought is so buttery. It's not good.
I'm so jealous. All I literally have is a half-drunk bottle of water, and I meant to get some more, and instead I sat here.
We literally stopped video chatting so you could go get water.
And I still sat here. I sat,
Oh my goodness.
shaking my head.
I'm so sorry to our viewers who are watching me eat right now.
It's hot.
Obviously, I've become too comfortable with you guys. Okay, hold on.
We
I'll
got
put
them.
my fangirling away now while we wait for Meg, who's starting the show for us this week.
I'm gone. I'm done.
Okay.
Someone said a donut without sprinkles isn't a donut.
I don't know if I will agree with that one.
Good donut eating ASMR. Yep.
We got some this morning, and they were supposed to be a variety, but they forgot to put a variety.
So what kind did you get? Wait, it's hard to
All
read.
one flavor. Oh no!
I mean, technically, it could have been randomly selected. You don't know.
We randomly selected the same flavor.
Yeah.
Someone said,
Maybe
ew,
they,
sprinkles.
blindly did it.
Well, I won't go as far as to say ew sprinkles, but I will say that a donut does not necessarily have to have sprinkles to be a donut.
Agreed.
You got a bunch of sprinkled donuts, and you're gonna come in here. You just watch me eat that plain ass donut. Triggered. Dare you.
And the friendship is over. Okay, bye everyone.
This is what dismantles So You Want.
The argument over sprinkled donuts.
How dare you not appreciate what you have?
It depends on the kind of donut.
Woo! Let's get started. I'm so sorry. Okay.
It's gonna be a rough drink, you guys.
Hi, and welcome back to So You Want, our show for writers by writers. If this is your first time tuning in, well, welcome. Elle and I created the show to connect with you. We're building a community for like-minded writer people. But honestly, the world needs more books, and specifically, it needs yours. So, I'm Meg, and I have a James Bond tattoo, and I'm the mom behind Miranda Writes and Birds and Bullets. But if romance ain't your bag, I write some poetry too. I mean, it's romantic, but it's in a sad way. So
She's not lying.
I enjoy that a little different. Real fast, I want to shout out to A Boyd Books on Instagram. Last week, I did an interview with her for filthybooks.com. It was a pleasure to answer all those questions, even though I feel weird talking about myself. But if you want to check it out, it is in the link on my bio. And that is right under our Discord link. Hint, hint. But yeah, we dove deep into all my work. So if you hear me mention any titles that kind of catch your ear, not really catch your eye, but you can go and read that and find out a little more about that. So.
Cool. Yay. First off, I just want to say that Craig has told you to please inject some sadness into his veins. So
okay.
Don't ask me if he'll do it. Okay. Before I introduce myself, I actually wanted to point out my shirt. And yes, I know it's backwards before everyone says it. But so that you know what it says I stand with you. I bought it at a local women-run boutique where I live, and all the priests. Meg, you're stumbling. It's getting to me.
I know, it's infectious.
Okay. Anyway, all the proceeds from the shirt went to a Canadian charity called Black Women in Motion, which is based out of Toronto, and their sole purpose is to help and support the advancement of Black women, gender non-conforming, and non-binary survivors of gender-based violence. So I know I normally dress a bit fancier, but I felt like today was a really great day to bust out this shirt and wear it, because I really strongly encourage everyone to look into this particular charity. I love it. Yeah, I really appreciate their dedication and their mission. Okay, so all that said, hi, as always, I'm Elle, and I am looking at my screen and I'm just loving all the Outlander that is behind me. I'm the author of 2 contemporary romances, Calorglan and For the Love of Art. Both are very light and fluffy, and they stick to the romance formula. So if you don't remember what that is, you can find that on our very first live, but what I can promise you is a happily ever after. I also have a self-titled book called Elle, a book of poetry. The title gives it away. It is a book of poetry, and it's all about my life and events leading up to and a little bit after my dad's death and my growth from that kind of hardship. So you can find all my work for free on Wattpad. And today, if you haven't noticed, we have a fresh face. We're super excited that Katrina Lewis is here with us to talk. So she is a fellow author and friend of ours. So Katrina, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your work?
Of course. First of all, hey, y'all. Thank you for bringing me on today. So for those who don't know me, I'm Katrina and Lewis. I am looking at my screen as well because I forget all the things I have going on.
Don't worry.
But I'm a fantasy, right. I'm a fantasy romance indie author. I actually just published my first novel, May of this past year, Heavy is the Head, Love and War. I can't believe it, y'all, but I finally did it. So you can check that out using the link in my bio at Katrina Rice _. I also have an awesome newsletter. I've launched some beta reading services that I have going on Fiverr. And yeah, I'm just like overall super happy to be here. So anything you want to, if you want to connect, if you want to catch up on what I have going on, what I'm writing, if you want to check out Heavy is the Head, I have 2 free short stories, Crimson City, which is the prequel to Heavy is the Head. And then I have a spicy one that I released on Valentine's Day called, what is it called? The Stroke of Midnight. So yeah, so check out all the links in my bio. It's fun. We here, and I'm ready.
All right. Well, today with Katrina's help and her very unique voice, we are going to talk about representing people of color in fiction. This is actually only part one of a series that we will be doing. This week we are going to be specifically discussing Black people, but we are looking for voices of other persons of color. Off the top of my head, like we're talking Indigenous, which there are so many around the world, so I'm hoping that we can get as many as possible. You know, Latino, Asian, Caribbean, Arabic, all of it. And like we want to travel the world. So if you know anyone or you yourself are interested in coming on to help us teach everyone else, we of course want you.
Yeah, and remember, guys, we are building a community, so I just want to throw out there that in our bios, at least I'm speaking for myself, I kind of feel like Elle is bad about updating her bio. But
I feel so called out.
If you want to join our community, we do have the devoted. So you want a Discord that's happening now. The invite link is in our bio. Yeah. So.
And just also really quickly to vouch to that, I just joined their Discord, y'all. It's fun. It's cute. There's some buttons I gotta get used to, but it is a good time. So definitely come on in and join. It's awesome. Yeah. And thank y'all for inviting me to your Discord as well.
Oh, you're welcome. We sprinted together and it was fun. All right. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we upload all of these shows so you can watch them again because we know you love listening to us talk and staring at our faces. And speaking of faces, please keep sending those screenshots. Today you're going to get a lot of from me as I drink my drink, so it'll be good. Let's all not forget, I am making Meg a blanket for Christmas. Our friendship now depends on it. So keep sending those screenshots.
I love it.
And of course, we have your questions. We can't wait to get to them. But of course, that always comes towards the end of the show. And yeah, so you guys want to get started?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm good. I'm ready.
Go.
So I feel like when it comes to talking about writing people of color in fiction, I feel like a question that comes up is like, how do I start? And the only way to start is just to legitimately be intentional about how you're going about adding whichever group of people or person that you're adding to your story. So I feel like I've come across the advice of like kind of like just write what you know kind of thing. And I feel like to some extent, yeah, write what you know. But I feel like that's it's harmful when you're trying to write people of color of any background, because it's like, what if, I'm not, I'm not from Canada. I'm not from Alaska. I'm not from China. Like, I don't know these things. So to write what you know is kind of, it bothers me a little bit when I see that advice. I mean, granted, yeah, sure, write what you know, but we're romance writers. We're contemporary writers. We write speculative fiction, fantasy, and sci-fi. We can imagine these worlds. We can imagine these people in these situations. Why can't we imagine people of color too?
Yeah.
So my first piece of advice, my first thing is just to really be intentional, really get outside of your box, not, sticking into like what you know and who you know and, only kind of seeing your worldview. It's, not saying that you can't, but if you want to venture out into writing people of color, and you should venture out to writing people of color because this is the world we live in, everyone looks so much different from each other. Even if they're not your neighbor next door, definitely get out of that box of writing what you know.
Yeah. And Morty says in the chat, do your research. Yeah. I mean, that may as well be the motto of our show here is, do your research. We drink every time somebody says do your research. So.
That was actually, what was that?
That was her drinking her, quote, buttery caramel macchiato.
Oh, no.
You guys, it's really bad.
I'm not being offended why there's butter in your coffee, but whatever. Maybe it's a Canadian thing.
No, so it's like I bought it at the store and it said it was Starbucks brand. So I was like, oh, I like their caramel macchiatos. I don't want to drive to town to get one. This is horrid. This is not.
But wait, did I hear the right? Butter in your coffee?
It said it's got a very buttery flavor, is what I'm saying. Like I literally shook it and dumped it, and because that's what it said to do, and it's very. It's something.
If it feels like it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
It's too good. Don't buy it.
And even things like that, like I would have not known that. Like guys, like Carter, like what Meg just brought up, that was going to be my next point. You got to start doing your research. Like, let me backpedal real quick, because I also wanted to mention that sometimes people think that there isn't an audience who are looking for people of color in books.
Yeah.
Who are looking for people of color in romance and fantasy and sci-fi. There is a huge one. Everyone across the board, no matter what background they have, racial background, ethnic background, they want to see themselves represented in books. Yeah. So don't ever feel like, I'm white, I can't talk about, a black person, or I'm Chinese, I can't talk about, a biracial. You can. It's okay. You can have those characters in your stories as long as you're not speaking on a particular experience that you haven't experienced. Mm-hmm. You can do it. Just do your research. Be intentional.
If you don't know, ask.
Yeah.
Yes. If you don't know, ask. That's the next point. Well, let me scroll.
Yeah.
Beta and sensitivity readers. That is the next thing.
Yeah.
If you do not know what you are talking about, if you do not know, a particular custom, certain colors mean certain things in certain areas of the world and certain racial and ethnic backgrounds, there are beta and sensitivity readers out there for people to help. Like, I'll stop making your face. Your dog is absolutely fine.
Hat is like our silent partner here. She's always in our shows. It's good,
But yes, use the beta and sensitivity readers. I always tell people, like, the more the merrier when it comes to beta readers. Have beta readers from all different types of backgrounds. Have black beta readers, white beta readers, men, women. Yeah. It runs the gamut, because the more you have, the better your story will be. And then that's not to say that you won't, because sometimes I feel like people get a little afraid when it comes to like trying to talk about or try to include other racial and ethnic people in the story. And it's okay. Like, I get it. Like, it could be scary, but you can't please everybody. As long as you're intentional, as long as you did your research, as long as you reached out to those beta and sensitivity readers to make sure that your I's were dotted and your T's were crossed, and you weren't being, I'm trying not to step on the next few things we're going to talk about. But yeah,
I'm sorry, the chat is saying do your research a lot, so that's why I keep off.
My dog, you guys, she got so excited she fell down the stairs and then kept running.
Oh, no.
Oh, is that what just happened?
That's why I was sitting there like...
All I saw was your face, like, and your eyes are going back. I was like, Elle, your dog is fine. But she fell. Oh, poor baby.
She's getting old, you guys. She's getting old. Okay.
I'm trying to see. Oh, what are we stroking at midnight? You gotta see, girl. But yeah, just I was trying to catch up with some of these comments. So I'm Caribbean, Jamaican. Yeah, like, I'm African American. I don't know Caribbean, Jamaican culture. That's not my culture. So if I wanted to include someone who was Caribbean, Jamaican in my story, one, I would do my research. Two, I would be making sure that I had beta and sensitivity readers who were from that particular background to help make sure I wasn't misrepresenting that particular group. So yeah, it's just all about doing research.
I just want it to be known I'm not gagging about what you're saying. I'm gagging. This is so helpful.
Girl, do you need to go get something? Like,
no,
stop
this is better.
People are watching this. Like, you're gonna have to have an intervention. The next show you want it, guys, is Elle's intervention.
goodness.
For me.
This is painful to look at you. Just stop drinking it.
I cannot with you guys. I'm trying to. Why does IG make these comments so hard to read?
Okay, I have to address this. Is that a thing? Is that what we're saying, IG? Because when I read IG, I read it as Instagram. And like you guys, every time you're like, hey, like Elle will send me a voice message and she'll be like, my IG is acting up. And I'm like, what the F is IG? I'm sorry. Is that what we're calling it? Chat me out, because
Yes, that's what we're calling it. Stop being
I want to blend in. Is it IG or is it Instagram? I don't want
It's
people to
IG.
know that I'm
IG,
cool.
girl.
We're going to shorten it. We're going to keep it short and cute.
Craig's like, Elle, you're embarrassing us.
I cannot. Really.
Okay.
Oh, please go get something else to drink. You know what? Because all you guys are telling me to go get something else to drink, I'm going to keep drinking this.
Yeah,
I
Mona
cannot.
says that IG is.
I can't get to these comments.
And
Sorry if my face is like all in the camera. I'm trying to like read.
So we did get a question here. Any tips
Hey,
on
Basil.
color-coded characters, like in a fantasy novel? We do talk about it here.
We are going to talk about that later. We got a question about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then something else mentioned stereotypes. We'll be touching on those.
We'll be touching on stereotypes shortly.
Mhm.
In
Yep.
fact, do you have anything more, Katrina?
Yeah, it's just I didn't want to, because my background is in sociology, so this is like it's a really big topic.
We're gonna
because you,
stay in here. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, you can I can really like we can go there because part of not, and this I know it's one of the questions that we got, but part of like not seeing people of color represented is rooted in. I'm gonna take it there. I'm about to put my foot on the gas. It's rooted in anti-blackness. So yeah. So
Go there.
yeah.
What I always say is, the world is a diverse place, so your book should be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. All right. Are we ready?
Thank you. What?
Wait, what you said?
Yeah, it's you.
Oh, it's me. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So today we're going to start, because stereotypes were brought up. We're going to start today. I'm going to talk about colorism. And I've never heard this term before. Colorism is the idea that light-skinned minorities are given more privilege than their darker-skinned peers. So this is actually very true, and you can see it all over Hollywood, all over your favorite shows, all these great movies that come out that you think are so amazing because it's representing Black people. But let me give you an example. So Zoe Saldana, great actress, love her. She was given the role to play singer and activist Nina Simone. So if you know Nina Simone, quite dark-skinned, but Saldana is actually a very light-skinned Black woman. So the question that we should all be asking ourselves is, why wasn't a darker Black woman cast for this role? Why was it given to a lighter Black woman? You can also see this in other things. For example, in Ralph Breaks the Internet, which is the second Wreck-It Ralph movie, in the actual trailer, the original one that came out, they lightened Tiana's skin. And then they had to fix it because there was such an outcry from the fact that they did this, and it cost them a lot of money. So they learned a very expensive lesson that day that you do not just...
They lightened her skin and they softened her hair texture.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't even
It was...
know. I only saw the first one, guys.
Yeah, no, they fixed it. Like, it was fixed.
Yeah.
The original trailer, there was a huge outcry.
Awful.
And so what is really awful about this is that this isn't like only a Hollywood problem. This is actually a Bollywood problem. So whenever you travel over to India, they also use lighter skinned actors and actresses versus darker skinned Indian people. So like, and if you even look into Asian culture, movies like Crazy Rich Asians was actually, they talked a lot about the fact that they only used light skinned Asians. So the problem truly spreads really far, and it's across so many cultures. And for African Americans in particular, this bias towards lighter skinned people unfortunately dates all the way back to slavery. So skin complexion sometimes determined what type of jobs slaves had, what kind of privileges they were allowed or not allowed to have. So, and then after slavery was abolished, whether or not
you did that just right.
Whether or not they were even worthy of education was based on the color of your skin, how light or dark you are. And if that does not disgust you enough to hear, in later decades, universities and societies actually used something that was known as the paper bag method. So basically, you got a paper bag, you held it up.
I don't like where this is going.
And if they were as light as or lighter than the paper bag, they were allowed in. If you were darker, you were out. So this is white supremacy. In case anyone is wondering, I am going to take it there. I know.
Foot on the gas, girl. Foot on the gas. Yes.
It's uncomfortable. I know that makes people to hear. It is true. Holding up whiteness over other backgrounds. It really does have deep implications, historical implications. In the Black community, this has affected everything from beauty standards to professional opportunities to even how we treat one another. So if we're to get kind of more into, you know, the social side of things, research has actually shown that skin color bias deeply has affected our perceptions over time. So, and it's not only adults that this has affected, but it's right down to our children to this day in 2021. So there was a pilot study in the US that showed that white children actually attribute positive traits to lighter skin and negative traits to darker skin. And it also showed that white children are more likely to hold on to these prejudices well into their adulthood than darker skinned children. So it also, so a lot of course, what our children know actually comes from parents and how parents obviously react to these things because children are a mirror of their parents. So of course, what we give out there is what children give us back. And unfortunately, we just still live in a society that values light skin. And so, you know, and one of the biggest problems, and which is a very common stereotype in writing, unfortunately, is the association of dark skin with criminality. And it's just a very deep-seated stereotype, unfortunately. Multiple studies have actually shown that people automatically attribute criminal activity with darker skinned people and that they think that they are more likely to misbehave. So the question about all this, you're probably wondering as I'm vomiting this information at you, it's why should you care? As a writer, especially a fiction writer, and when you're writing a novel where people can use their imagination, why should I care about how I am representing people of color? And the answer to that is that, one, this is an incredibly necessary conversation that needs to be had over and over and over and over and over again. You know, we can honestly not represent Black people of all shades, because it is a spectrum. I mean, you can look at Katrina and I and see that there is a spectrum. And, you know, and I mean, you can even look at shows and, you know, you can use your platform of writing as a way to address these issues, including colorism. Look at shows like Blackish that actually directly addressed colorism in their show, but they did it in a very obtuse way. They did a really actually good job of doing it quite subtly. And as writers, we should always use our platforms for good, to help people. Because whether, you know, it doesn't matter how many followers you have, you can use your voice to break down stereotypes, to break down racism, to break down the structures that continue to keep Black people stigmatized. Which, this is all one big stereotype, colorism, which will lead us into our next topic, which Meg is going to discuss. But I think
really quickly, Elle, you did a phenomenal job at describing colorism. That was, you just brought up so many points that I even wanted to touch on. Like you talked about colonialism, like how colorism takes place across countries, everywhere, anywhere basically the British Empire has touched base. There are issues, or anywhere that has a TV, you know, they have these issues of colorism. In India, even Lin Manuel, I'm forgetting his last name, but the guy who wrote Hamilton, he had got some flack as well for, oh my gosh, Into the Heights. And they said, you know, that particular area in New York City doesn't look like that. Like, why did you only cast fairer-skinned Latinos or Latinas? You know, they run the gamut as well. They look like Meg, they look like you, and they look like me. Even down to you talking about how darker skin is associated with criminality. I know when I wrote Heavy is the Head, Love and War, I was super intentional about making sure that the darker skinned characters weren't perceived as like the criminal, because that's usually the direction people go in. I remember people were having this conversation a little bit about, I don't know if you've seen the movie Girls Trip, and they talked about how, the one woman's husband, who's very dark skinned, he was like the bad guy. And then he was cheating on his wife with another young lady. She's also very dark skinned. She was the bad guy. And everyone else was like this very like same shade of brown. And it kind of stands out when you really sit back and look at it like, huh. But these are like super deep-rooted issues down to, like you said, dating all the way back to slavery. I'm dating all the way back to even the classifications of race. So that was great. I just wanted to say that. And as writers, we should care. We need to be able to have these conversations and to talk about these things. Like, hey, and that's not to say like, oh, you can't have a villain in your story who's dark skinned. No, we're not saying that. We're just saying to be intentional and to be aware of the stereotypes and the message you can be perpetuating when you're doing these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So do your research. Back to that. Do your research.
So I was following the chat. We're having like a pretty active discussion going on. Yeah. And a lot of the things that you guys are commenting on, we want to touch on, and we do kind of touch on them, but please remember this is the first in a series. There is no possible way to condense everything that's wrong with representing people of color
exactly
into an hour-long show. It's just,
everything
I couldn't do it.
And even everything that people of color who are not blackface, because this is not just a problem with the black population. This is a problem for indigenous people. This is a problem for Latinas. This is a problem for everybody. This is, we have to kind of try and condense, each kind of, group into a show so that we have time to cover.
And if there is a topic that we don't touch on tonight and you absolutely want to hear it, obviously send it to us, because
circle back.
The absolute,
or even reach out to us.
Yeah. I mean, reach out to us and let us know, and do your research, guys. That's how we get topics for our shows here.
Yes.
And there's lots of things out here, especially representing people of color, that I, as a white female, don't know about. So, please don't be afraid to say, hey, I wish you would have talked about this, so that I can. Because, the only way that we're going to better ourselves and overcome something like this is through education and spreading the word. I mean,
and not being afraid to have these hard conversations.
Right.
And are uncomfortable to say. There's a really good question here from Basil, and I do want to address it. It says, what's your opinion on using racist words/phrases in your novel? For me personally, I'm going to say I am okay with it if there is an intention behind it. Do I think it's okay to just be racist in your whole novel? No. But if you have a character that is who they are a racist person, and there is a purpose behind why they are racist, if it's meant to drive your plot, does it bother me? No, because that's the reality of the world. It's a very sad reality. I have faced my own racism. So I realize that there are, unfortunately, people in this world who are like that. So does it bother me? As long as there is a purpose behind it, no. Obviously, I've read books like The Help. I've read like the Book of Negroes and other books like that where there is so much racism in there. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost painful, but it was a reality. And so there was intention and purpose behind that racism.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Literally just took the words out of my mouth. As long as it's intentional and you're not just like being immature and ignorant and playing with buttons like, you know, slur here, slur there. You know, as long as we're being intentional, that's all what it's about. I'm not trying to like go into, because I know Meg is going to talk about stereotypes, and that's another big thing that we're going to be discussing. But yeah, so I'm gonna step back a minute before I keep going.
I know, before Katrina and I just start hammering stuff in, we'll let Meg.
We got a couple of questions here. So, or at least one. It says, could you guys make a channel on the Discord for this show so you can put questions in there? Are you asking specifically for this series of representing people of color, or are you asking for the So You Want to Show? Because yes, I can do that, and I will do that. And then for anyone who doesn't want to ask the question because they're not sure or whatever, you can do that privately. We'll still take questions that way. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. And I think that's it. Okay. So, but you have to type a question before the live stream. Yeah. So like if they come up, say it whenever, or DM us or write it down for later, that's fine. But yeah, I can
always slide into our DMs at any time.
Yeah.
And ask a question. And we've always said, like, if we don't know the answer, we're going to find someone who you can get the answer from.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
So, guys, we're at the 40-minute mark. I'm trying, like I said, there's like so much information to talk about. So we're trying to get there. But let's talk about stereotypes now. Get that out of the way quickly so that we can stop tiptoeing about talking about it. It's so sad that it's so like interwoven into things, right? Okay, so I hate stereotypes for so many reasons. But you know, just kind of diving in here, stereotypes are bad because they're wrong. They're lazy and uncreative way to write a person, and they're extremely hurtful. So not just to your character, but to your reader and to your entire story. And, you know, that leads into your entire work base. Because if you read a book and an author is throwing in these stereotypes and stuff, you really don't want to read the rest of their work, right? And you're really offending an entire group of people that you should be representing. So they're just bad.
There goes your whole reader base.
Yeah, right?
That's really bad.
So when you write a book, you know, all of your characters should be represented well. And they should matter, and they shouldn't fall into any sort of token character archetype. And I really stress this because it is shockingly common. So off the top of my head, guys, and some of you, you know, you did mention some of them in here, like Morte said, a lot of books she reads, there's the ghetto black character. Yep. There's the criminal is black and the hero is white. There's the black woman who's aggressive, loud, or angry, the thug, or black men are always drug dealers or members of a gang. The domestic worker, so being the maid or the nanny in the book, but not having careers like being a doctor or an accountant or a biologist. So there are a lot of stereotypes and they're awful. And then there is the casual racism, kind of riffing off of that, which is sadly still incredibly common in fiction writing. So if you think of racism as an iceberg, you get visible up here, and then there's such a, you know, that's the Confederate flags and the hateful messages and the KKK and the white supremacy groups. And then underneath that, there's so much more, and it seems to just go on. So even some of the most progressive authors have been guilty of doing some of these things. So when you sit down to write tonight or you write tomorrow or whatever, I really want you to think about this and, you know, think, do I do this in my work? Because don't, you know? But so number one, and I think it's been mentioned the most in this chat, word choice. So a lot of times you see white characters who are described as nude or flesh colored, and that's like the assumption there that that is what skin should be or whatever, and then as you guys mentioned it, a lot of non-white characters are described as food. So besides that being just racist and horrible, I mean, can you consider how many types of flesh tone are out there, and you're sitting there really focusing on the wheat and the as Al would say, nobody is a caramel macchiato. Nobody is,
right.
So stop dehumanizing people with food, and
use the colors.
Eating chocolate.
I am brown, you guys.
Like,
so I'm
yes.
No, just no. Okay.
I'm not food.
Not at all. And then one more thing, just be like what I've seen in fiction period is that when it comes to using like colors to describe people of color, it's usually like chocolate or things like that. But when the word brown is used very vaguely.
Mm-hmm.
And that can also be like rooted in like these stereotypes what Elle talked about in like colorism. Like they'll say like a character is brown, and then you'll go look at like character art or something. They're the most ambiguous person ever. I'm like, wait a minute. I swore this person was brown, had kinky hair or had curly hair, and I'm like, this looks like, I don't know. Like, I don't know who this person is anymore. So please use the colors. Do not be scared to talk about dark brown, light brown, medium brown,
golden brown,
all kinds of brown. Because chocolate, there's white chocolate, there's dark chocolate, there's milk chocolate. Chocolate could be any. Someone used the dead faces. They're cracking up. But yeah, it's the thing. I'm just like, did they not say brown? Like what brown we're talking about? What? It gets very. So back to again, just being intentional. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You got the floor again.
Good. I mean, it leads into this. Another issue here is that when you only mention the skin color of characters who aren't white, so then we just assume that anybody that you didn't say was a coffee colored, semi dark and stormy skin, whatever, is white. Like good God. So doing this is subtly reinforcing the idea that whiteness is, unremarkable, but brownness and yellowness and blackness should be commented on. So it's just awkward, and I don't want to see it in your books, so read over what you're writing, and if you're doing it for the love of God, change it before it sees the light of day. Okay. And then
I just want to throw out here, Morde writes, just wrote, it's not racist to say a black person is black or to call them brown. And that is absolutely true. And I think that is something people are so afraid of, is that they're going to be called racist for saying that a black person is black. And
it's like, black. No, I'm black.
It's
okay.
I am black.
Yes. I've had people, it's sad really, because like I said, it's rooted in anti-blackness. I've had experiences where people whisper that I'm black. They're like, isn't she black? I'm like,
yeah,
I'm black. It's okay. Like, what? Like, why are you whispering? I walk around with it on my phone. I can't. Like, I didn't get it. And people do it often. They're afraid to even say the word. Saying black is not racist at all. That is what I am. That is a racial category on the U.S. Census. I don't know what other census have the word black, but
Canada does. Yeah, hello.
in Canada, so it is okay. Yes, I am black.
And then another one is having your characters assume ethnicity. So like, for example, your main character who's never met someone ever says, I walk by a Jamaican man. Like, how you don't know that? How do you know that? Did you ask him, is he wearing a shirt that says I'm Jamaican? Like, I don't understand how you got there. So yeah, you know, or when you say
Sorry.
I'm serious. How many times do you see a Japanese woman sat on the bus and you're like,
Because it was rooted in stereotypes. Yep.
how do you
Yep.
know? You don't. You know?
I'm sorry, that just her description was so good. Yeah, she nailed it.
Anyway, yeah. The point is, the average person is not going to be able to guess someone's ethnic background, you know, solely on appearance, and you need to give them something else to go on.
Yes.
So yeah. And then probably the worst is making the character skin color the only or the most interesting thing about them. That is common to see in, you know, the descriptions that you give a group of people that run on something like A's best friend, are B, an accountant, C, a Nigerian immigrant, and D, a shy poet. You know, which one of these don't belong? And yeah, being Nigerian is not a personality trait.
Right.
You know, so yeah. No more
Being Canadian not a personality trait for me? Is that what you're telling me? My Canadianness doesn't count?
Listen, at the end of the day, we want to drive. What we're trying to drive home here is that you have a platform, whether it is 10 followers or it's 2.5 million followers. You know, just watch your words and watch what you're saying, and remember that, you know, the world is diverse. Your book should be diverse. So.
And it's not scary to write people of color, guys. There's an audience. We're people. We have hair. We have feelings. We have X, Y, Z. We may do things a little differently sometimes. I remember this young lady on TikTok, actually. She was a white author, and she was writing about, I think her MC was black. Mm-hmm. And she said her MC had braids, and she wanted to know how often she was supposed to wash the main character was supposed to wash her hair. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that was an amazing question. Instead of her assuming something, she literally reached out on TikTok and asked, and people reached back out and said, hey, XYZ character should wash it. This, they provided answers to it. So it's not like this huge, like, sometimes I don't get why. I mean, it is, but it isn't like writing people of color is like this revolutionary idea. It is because it hasn't been done. Like, we need to do it more. Like, we need to see it more. And I'm happy that people are having conversations like these. That there are white authors who have black character, right? Exactly.
Really
who are taking those steps to make sure that their book has some sort of representation, because it just matters, guys. It's not this big, daunting thing. You're just writing, you're creating a character. You do it all the time. Yeah. They just look different. That's it.
And I mean,
just make sure you do your research like you do with all the other characters you have.
I was pointing at Meg because Meg is really good at writing diverse characters. Obviously, Meg is white. But I've always felt very strongly from the time I started reading her work that she really cares about the characters that she makes, and she makes them diverse. And you can tell that she get your drinks ready, does her research. So I just want to say,
well, I was supposed to be drinking each time we said research.
I told you that.
Get in the game.
I missed it.
So I just want to say that, you don't have to be afraid. And if you want a white author who is not afraid to make diverse characters, please message Meg, because she's so good at it. And I cannot praise her enough for her writing. So, and it's my show, so I can plug whoever I want. Okay.
Thank you.
Meg's like, I'm so uncomfortable. Can we move on?
I am very uncomfortable with praise.
Stop.
All right, Meg, your go.
What to say about me? All right, before we get to your questions, we have a list of Black authors that we want to share and celebrate. So of course we have Elle and Katrina here, but I'm so sorry if I butcher your name. It's gonna happen. I'm garbage from America. I'm so sorry. Okay. And you know, guys, I'm trying here, but your ats are just gonna throw me up. So I'm gonna list your names, and then I will make a post and make sure that all of your ats are here, your usernames. Okay, so Tiana LeRae, Charlotte Murphy, Montres Stories, Manfred Tata, Amanda Ross, and Adrian Edwards. And then we have Black Creatives, Educators, and Readers. So MC Basil, Nia, and Bree. And then, you know, obviously we can go on. And if there's anybody that you want to see mentioned, slide on into my DMs and I will throw together a post.
Sorry, Craig just makes me laugh. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage. Okay, Craig.
That's what my shirt says, so that when your character sees me on the street, they can say a piece of garbage just sat down.
Stop.
Oh, God. Okay, so as we stated at the top, we've got questions from you guys, and luckily for all of you, we also have answers. So we will start. So one, have you faced racism as an author? Katrina, I'll let you start.
Yes, and
I'm going to say yes and no. So I haven't personally experienced any racism as an author. I haven't, like when I started my author journey, I haven't really encountered, you know, anything racist from anyone or anything. But that's not to say that there isn't a bias, I think, that sometimes goes against writers of color, particularly Black women. We kind of get stereotyped into, like, we only may write, like, thug stories, or, like, there has to be drugs in it, or I've come across that.
That's a garbage ass reader. I'm sorry.
This was just like, you know, we get stereotyped, like, oh, her book not your fault. But yeah, so it's just this because, like I said, this issue was just like so deeply rooted in so many things. So like on a macro scale, definitely, because like writers of color, we have to work a lot harder. We got to make sure we're not, you know, boxed in these stereotypes of people thinking like, oh, she, like, I've forgotten, like, she should be writing what is that, like crime dramas or something like that. Like, oh, you write fantasy? Like, yeah, Black people like fantasy too.
Authors, you see it, especially in like the romance genre. A lot of authors have to pick up a pen name because they're worried that people are not going to read their books.
Yes, yeah, because of their name, things like that. Yeah. So, on a personal level, micro level, I have not, but on the macro level, you know, I put my sociological glasses on. I know it's there, unfortunately.
You guys are
both
wearing glasses. I feel like I should.
I will agree with you. I definitely
They're
know.
Cute.
I definitely know that it's there as well for me. You know, it took me a while to reveal my face, and a lot of it had to do with the color of my skin and the fact that racism is just such a part. It's going to be horrible to say, but you know, I think truth is so important. Racism has been such a huge part of my life, my whole life, that you just automatically protect yourself from it. You can see that it's a real possibility. I have unfortunately had a racist comment said to me. I found a little bit of success on a different app, and someone who, I'm going to say, they were a little bit jealous that I had worked really hard and found a little success, and they did say something racist to me. I'm not going to repeat it because it's so heinous, and it still hurts me to say. Like, I can feel myself tearing up because it was so heinous what they said to me. So it is really real, and it's there, and you know, so I mean, be aware, you know, of be aware of that in your interactions with people, and you know, and be aware of this, even the stereotypes that Katrina brought up. It is very true. I have had people feel surprised that I write light, fluffy romances and not romances full of dark things, like, you know,
gang violence and
gangs and whatever else. So, you know.
Hey, Elle, if you could do me a favor and send me that person's username so I can block them. I don't even want them on my.
I don't even know if they're on IG anymore, to be honest. It was so heinous.
ambience that
was,
they might become a follower. I just want to block them. I don't want that.
Yeah, I just cried. You know, I totally cried. I couldn't believe, like, I've had some pretty horrible things said to me over the years, but that one just, like, it really like stuck to my core. It's really hard to be judged simply by the way you look, and you know, and I can't even take it off, you know, just to get a break from it. Like, this is how I live, and so it's very hard to describe that pain, you know, when you can't take something off, and when you're judged so solely for that thing instead of who you are as a person. Not trying to be vain, but I think I'm a good person, everybody. Okay,
you are a great person.
Okay.
You know, that's
thank you
for saying it, but that's tough. That is it's it's extremely unfortunate that people even get like that. It's unfortunate that Black people have to consider whether or not they want to show their faces. I actually wanted to say, when you said, you know, you didn't show your face for a lot of time, I actually thought about that when I first started my author journey. I was like, should I show my face? Like, I'm dark skinned, like, you know, are people going to take to me? Like, even when I started on Fiverr, I was like, you know, I'm this dark skinned Black woman. Should I show my face on, you know, did I do beta reading services? Because people automatically, it's the sociological term. Oh my gosh, what is it called? It's called double. Oh my gosh, it's something about double perception that Black people have. It's kind of like, I know, like how Elle talked about, like protecting ourselves. We know how you're going to perceive us, so we are trying to protect ourselves from that perception. So it's like double consciousness is what it's called.
Yeah. I just want to throw this out here, and I know that I am not every white person ever, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know.
So, you know.
It's so funny. Even when Meg and I first started talking, I think probably one of the first things I said to her is like, does it bother you that I'm Black? Because, and I ask a lot of people that, because and it's so horrible to say.
I think my response was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah. I was like, why would that bother me? But like, the reality is I have had that where it has bothered people that I'm Black, because they have this assumption about me and about who I am because I'm Black. And it's like, you know, and so it's like,
it's almost like you're not as credible, you're not as smart, you're not as talented.
People think I'm not educated, and I'm like, excuse me, I am educated.
You're not educated.
Yeah, or you know that I've actually gone, because I am light-skinned Black person. I'm actually quite often mistaken for Indigenous and stuff. And in Canada, the way Indigenous people are treated is, we won't get into that conversation, but but because of that, a lot of people say, oh, you just milk money from the government. And anyone who actually knows me knows that I'm actually a very hard worker, and I've worked very hard to get to where I am and get the things that I have and stuff. And I've never, you know, but like, all these assumptions are just made about me. Like, seriously, because I'm not white. And you know, and it is, you automatically feel that need to protect yourself before you give someone a chance, which is horrible too, you know. Like, sometimes I feel bad when I reflect back on it that, you know, I do that, but
that you even had to think about that.
But there is that fear. Anyway,
and there's so many women in the comments, so many people in the comments, period, talking about how they consider the same thing. It's like,
again, I don't represent every, you know, piece of shit out there, but I'm sorry to everybody in our chat. You know, I just, I feel like, you know, I'm learning so much just from hearing your guys talk, and, you know, from the research, the research that we did for this show.
I caught up this time.
You know, so, yeah, again, I'm sorry. That's all I can say.
All right. I'm going to move on to the next question. Yeah. What do you feel is underrepresented in books? I'll start this time. So something about me is that I'm actually, my mom is Black, but my dad was white. So I'm actually mixed race, which I'm very proud of. But if there's one thing I've noticed is that you do not see a lot of mixed race couples. And growing up, when I watched TV, it was either white and white and Black and white. So I often growing up thought there was something wrong with my parents because why are they together? Like, are you not supposed to be with someone who, I got very confused is what I'm saying. And I had a lot of talks with my mom about it because I was so confused. And even to this day in books and Hollywood and all that stuff, you don't see a lot of different color tones together. It's like, it's color, you know, the color isn't like we talk about. It's all the same kind of
the same, yeah,
together. So I actually find that mixed race is very uncommon. And I'm not just talking like black and white. I'm talking across the whole spectrum. White and Asian, black and Asian, like all of it. It's all so underrepresented. It would be great to see more books, I think, with that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously black characters are underrepresented altogether.
yeah.
But that was something that really stuck out to me. What about you guys?
I know for me, right? I know for me, it was definitely darker skinned characters. Period. A lot of times, like how, you know, what we all just talked about. But I'm not even gonna, you know, repeat myself. We just spoke of it. You know, we don't see it. And I remember growing up, like, you cannot tell me Brandy Cinderella like was not that bitch. Like, I love Brandy Cinderella because she looked like me. Like, she was the only princess I had at the time, outside of like Jasmine, who was like super dark skinned. But I knew she wasn't quite like me. Same thing with Pocahontas, she wasn't quite like me. But Brandy Cinderella, I always, you know, went back till this day. I still watch it. So yeah, definitely when it comes to like dark skinned beauty, the darker skinned woman being like the, you know, the person for the affection. You know, the princess, and things like that. Because the stereotype that darker skinned black women aren't soft, for some reason. But I am dainty. I want to see myself as a princess. Yes. Yeah. So definitely all of that needs to be represented in book. We need to see dark skinned black women everywhere. We need to change and decolonize how we see beauty. Period.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I don't know. I'll just say for me, I was thinking of this while you guys were talking. The black hero, like, I know we kind of talked about that, but like, why are all the heroes white? Why? And then like, or the people who are, you know, on the side of good or whatever in your story, like, and I have to say this, who don't immediately die after saving the day. Like, why can the black hero not live? Like, I don't, so that I'd like to see more stories that, you know, don't do that.
Yeah, don't just kill the black. Okay, I know we're getting a little bit over time here, but there's one more question that was given to us. So this person said, so I've got a character in a high fantasy novel series who is Asian. However, there isn't in Asia to compare it to. How should I describe this character's skin without being insensitive? So I kind of answered this question a bit because I was thinking. The first thing I'm going to say about that is think about where in Asia are you modeling your character off of? Because the thing that I find when it comes to Asian characters that people don't think about is that Asia is incredibly diverse. I automatically think of China, Japan, Korea, Thailand, but you know, Asia is so much bigger than that. So, you know, and I think the other mistake I see a lot, and I say this because I have a friend who's in aesthetics, and a lot of people make the mistake of saying that Asian people have yellow skin. And she said that's actually not true. Most white Asians have actually a cool undertone to their skin, not a yellow undertone. Yellow is more of actually dark skin undertone. So like yellow and golden and olive and all that kind of stuff tends to be for darker skin people. So now you're kind of looking more towards India, not necessarily, you know, China, for example. So so I feel like this is kind of the same as when we talked about how do you describe a black person. Like, don't be afraid to say their skin color. They're white, they're white. You know, if they're a white Asian, they're a white Asian. If they're a brown Asian, they're a brown Asian. You know, it doesn't matter. And also, I think the other thing that people are probably thinking is like eyes, because I think people also, like, when it comes to dark skinned people seem to have a problem saying, like, you know, they're black. People, I think, get scared to say, oh, they have almond-shaped eyes. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to be like, white people have almond-shaped eyes. Like, there's you're describing a person. It's a feature. That's okay. So as long as you are describing features and you're not being derogatory, describe features. Feel open to describe what they look like, you know?
That exactly.
Okay. It's okay.
Right. Don't freak out. It's all right. We promise it's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay as long as you're not. You know, it's all good, you guys. All right, you guys. I gotta be the bad guy, and I gotta shut this down.
Yeah.
Boo! Don't keep talking.
We had so much fun with you guys. Even though this is a little bit more of a somber topic, you know, just a reminder to you guys, moving on, we have a Discord now, so come join us there. The invite link is in my bio, but that only lasts for so long. So if you can't get in, DM either Ella or myself, and we will invite you. If you don't know anything about Discord, we will help set you up. Hint, hint, Katrina here. Subscribe to our YouTube and tell your friends about our show. That is the only way that we're going to grow. I'm sorry, I had to rhyme. A big thank you, Katrina, for coming on to So You Wanna. And if you could, would you please plug yourself one more time so people know how to get your work, how to read your stuff?
How to talk to you.
Yes, first I want to thank you, Meg, UL, for having me on your amazing platform. I want to come back. This was so much fun. You guys are great. This was an awesome conversation to have. Really, so just wanted to take a minute to thank you guys. And thank you to everyone who came, who watched, who asked questions, who participated. Thank you guys as well. I am Katrina N. Lewis. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Katrina Wright, and Discord at Katrina Wright _. And you can go to the link in my bio. I have a very long link tree, but I promise you it keeps you updated on all things I'm writing. I have 2 free short stories. If you want to go take a look, one is a prequel to Heavy is the Head, Love and War. Heavy is the Head, Love and War is available now on Amazon, so you can check that out as well using the link in my bio. And yeah, I have some beta reading services. I can sensitivity read for you. Just dropping all the links. Just check out that bio, and thank y'all so much again.
Yeah.
All right. And so, of course, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Once again, we love seeing all your faces, and I love how active the chat was today. It was so, you know, thank you for putting in your voice.
On my crazy notes, guys.
Perfect.
I just keep that to give me a run for my money.
All right, next week we are going to be having another After Dark. We haven't done one since our sex talk, but this time we are going to be talking about tough stuff. So we will be helping you guys write all those difficult topics like addiction, death, and so much more. So we want to see you there. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.